Hi, this is Simon from Legend of the Bones, and you're listening to Tale of the Manticore.
The following podcast is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to Tale of the Manticore, Season 2. Like the creature from which it takes its name, Tale of the Manticore is a mashup, a crossbreeding between two different species of storytelling. Here you will find the unpredictability of old-school RPG paper and dice games with the storycraft of a dark fantasy novel. No character is sacred, and no character will be spared if the dice decide their fate is at hand. According to lore, the tail of a manticore is barbed with cruel iron spikes. There will be much pain in the days ahead. Last time on Tale of the Manticore. The last chapter picks up with the PCs just beyond the Room with the Face on the doors. During the night, while the others slept, Catsbane had opened them, but his companions did not know that particular detail. Shortly after passing the threshold, they can hear faint music coming from up ahead, and cautiously, they move towards the source of the sound. Once in the hall, they see a pinpoint of light in the darkness ahead. It turns out to be one in a chain of candles, supported by stanchions, but whoever lit them is a mystery. After the final candle, they find a bronze door, and the party can plainly hear that the music comes from behind it. When they open it, the music stops. It is replaced with a bright light that streams out from a large space full of candles, thousands of them. The area they enter is a vast underground and multi-leveled courtyard that is home to dozens of statues. These statues all share the same theme. They are pairs of lovers entwined in various degradations and profanities. The sudden abatement of music is not the only thing that makes the companions doubt their senses. Both Shawnee and Bazu are shocked to see faces of their own former lovers on some of the statues, at least until they look again, and poor Shawnee even sees her own face. Later on, Jace has a similar experience when, in the basin of a water feature, he sees the face of a man he once almost drowned. The episode ends when the companions have put all the statuary behind them and discover, at the far end of the terraced courtyard, a dais, atop which lies a beautiful woman. I need to mention something else about the last episode before we move on. Episode 70 was the first time in almost 150 releases that I did not make one single die roll. Not one. This wasn't due to a conscious effort, it just sort of happened, and by the time I realized what I had done, or not done I suppose, I had already played through to the end of the episode. The last and only other time this happened, I shoehorned in some dice rolls before letting the episode conclude. But this time, I thought I'd just let it be and see if anything was lost. Tale of the Manticore is an experiment in storytelling, after all. I'd love to know your thoughts on this. If you're listening on YouTube, let me know in the comments. If you listen on a podcatcher, I'll post something on the blog. In any case, I won't make this a habit. I do think that game mechanics are an integral part of the show, but maybe just this once, it's okay. With all that said, let's grab some dice and get some rolls into this episode right away. I need to update Jace's character sheet today. He's not the same man who went to Mirpool on a mission for Nudge Pickens and failed. Not anymore. Since then, he has gained a tremendous amount of experience. Are you ready for a level up? For reaching level 7, Jace gets a D8 of new hit points. Here's the roll. A 6 is a good roll. Adding his Constitution bonus brings his maximum up to a beefy 52, higher even than Yellowfly, who is a level above him. Boyo, Jace is as tough as nails. Level 7 also comes with a basic attack bonus increase to +5, and we're not done because there's still a chance for ability score improvements. As always, a 6 on a d6 wins a +1 bonus to each attribute as we go down the line, beginning with Strength. I've got a 1, Intelligence. A 4, nothing there. Wisdom. A 3, Dexterity. If I get a 6 here, Jace will get an armor class bonus. Will it happen? I've got a 5. So close. Constitution. A 2. Last chance here, charisma. A 4. I think this might be a message from the dice gods not to neglect them again. They could have just posted something in the comments of YouTube. Still, considering the new hit points and the attack bonus, Jace gets improvements where they count, and I'm satisfied with this level up. I wonder, will he get to see another? While his survival is by no means guaranteed, I'm not being morbid here. I was actually thinking of the season coming to an end before that could happen. He'd need to go another 9 episodes before he hit level 8, and I have a feeling that the season will wrap before we get to episode 80. But why am I thinking of the future when things in the present are starting to get so interesting? Let's get back to the story and see what happens next. Chapter 71, Part 1, Day 184. Time, unknown. 2.5 hours of lantern fuel remain. Party status, Yellowfly, 32 of 44 hit points. Shawnee, 33 of 33. Jace, 47 of 52. Catsbane, 17 of 21. Bazu, 19 of 21. Spells available. Catsbane has memorized Detect Magic, Magic Missile, Web, Mirror Image, Haste, Slow, and Dimension Door. Bazu has prayed for Cure Light Wounds, Light, Bless, Locate Object, and Cure Serious Wounds. Her skin was such a pale porcelain white, if it were not for her long braid of chestnut hair, she might have passed as yet another statue. Jace removed his cloak as they drew nearer, intending to cover the woman's nakedness with it. Bazu put his hand on the fighter's shoulder when he saw what he was about to do. The cleric did not know this woman, and his face expressed concern and warning. Jace shrugged off Bazu's hand, looked away, and approached the dais heedlessly. He put his boot on the first step, and then the next, and then he was standing at the top, looking down at the woman. She was the most beautiful person he had ever seen. Bathed in their lantern light, her skin glowed so that it appeared almost blue at her throat, and the marbling of veins at the tops of her breasts made his heart beat faster. He helplessly stole these greedy glimpses of her shape before draping his cloak over her body, covering her so that only her face and feet were exposed. Still she slept, and she did not wake when he brushed her cheek with the side of his hand. How soft her skin was. Throwing caution to the wind, he bent over her and picked her up in his arms. When he stepped back down from the dais, he had one arm curled protectively under her shoulders, and the other hooked under the backs of her knees, with her limp body drooping in the middle. Seeing this, Catsbane's remembrance of the woman was replaced by a flash of memory in which he recalled carrying Shawnee in the exact same way when he had rescued her from the burning warehouse. As for Shawnee, while she had no real memory of the fire, she did remember this woman's face. I know her from the dormitory at the Church of the Sacred Flame. She was a novice. I don't think I ever learned her name.
I recognize her as well. I saw her in the library once.
Nobody said it, but they all shared the same thought. Hers was a face of such loveliness, it would be impossible to forget. Is she sleeping? Asked Yellowfly.
I'm not sure,
replied Jace, looking down upon the woman with tenderness.
I think she may be unconscious.
You think the incense is drugged? Asked Yellowfly.
I'd guess as much,
replied Jace without looking up. Where's it coming from? It was a good question. There were no visible incense burners, though there was plenty of smoke. It was cloyingly sweet, and it did seem to dull their senses.
What should we do now?
Asked Jace, still unable to tear his gaze away from the gorgeous creature in his arms. The use of the word creature is deliberate. Sivan is a creature. More than that, she is a monster. I've already revealed this before, so it's no spoiler to say here that she is actually a succubus, a demon in the service of Azor Azul. There's an interesting history involving the succubus that grognards will remember well. They first appeared in the AD&D Monster Manual 1, but soon after disappeared, along with other demons, devils, and assorted nasties for the printing of the 2nd edition rules. This was a reaction to the inferno of negative press D&D was roasting in during the so-called Satanic Panic years. For those who missed this period in the game's history, believe me, you're lucky. I'll leave it to the more journalistic pods and books to discuss that in detail, but I just wanted to mention that the 1st edition AD&D succubus was the one I had in mind when dreaming of the nightmare that is Sivan. That said, until now I haven't really taken a close look at what this monster can do in terms of stats and abilities. Now that I read the monster's entry closely, I realize I'll need to make a few tweaks. Let's get into it. Firstly, although the monster manual says that only demons of type 5 and above are not fully slain when defeated on the prime material plane, I like this idea enough to apply it to all demons. If the PCs manage to kill one, it will really only be flung back to the abyss, where it will be forced to wait a full century before going forth again. That particular feature works well for this story because Sivan and the other demons have already been defeated once by Aylward the Paladin. That happened a little over 200 years ago, and they have only returned to the prime material plane fairly recently. Secondly, the rules say that demons are repelled by holy relics or artifacts. Does this apply to our story? Well, the Silverthorn counts for one of these for sure. Bazu's holy symbol is one too, to a lesser degree. If the cleric wishes to turn Sivan, or another demon, he'll need to make a successful skill check to do so. At his current level, Bazu would need to roll a 9 or better on 2d6, by the way. Thirdly, official rules say that all demons have the following innate abilities: infravision, teleportation, and cause darkness. This makes sense to me, at least for Sivan. I might tinker with that for other demons, however. Fourth, Sivan cannot be harmed by non-magical weapons, and certain types of attacks using things like cold, acid, or fire, etc. may have partial efficacy. There's a whole chart for this, but we'll only go there if it becomes important later. Finally, succubi have abilities and weaknesses specific to them. Their darkness ability, for example, is minor and can be cast in just a 5-foot radius. Succubi are supposed to have the ability to become ethereal at will, but I'm removing that. The teleportation ability is enough. Her at-will, spell-like powers of Charm Person, ESP, Clairaudience, and Suggestion all stay. I'm also giving her minor powers of Prestidigitation and Illusion that will befuddle and frustrate the PCs, but won't have any real power. This explains the phantom music and all the candles. And, as I mentioned a while ago, she can cast a custom spell called Greater Sleep, which is really just a variation of Suggestion. Rules as written succubi can shape change, but I'm limiting this power to 3 shapes: her abyssal form, that of Sivan, and something halfway between the two. I'm striking her ability to gate in other demons, but I'm keeping her most powerful weapon, and it is this. Sivan's kiss drains the victim of 1 energy level. A successful 2-hit is required for this most feared of all attacks, but if a hit is scored, there is no saving throw. Alright, I feel like that's enough to take us into the next scene. I bet you already know what's going to happen. Behind him, Jace heard Shawnee's voice.
Hey, Lovely, perhaps we should go back. We can't take her with us for the inn.
Then came the fighter's inevitable reply.
I know, but how are we to get her across that pool? Or those hellhounds? We need to get clear of this incense and see if she revives.
Upon the word revives, the woman shifted in Jace's arms. He looked down upon the face of his charge with the kind of fondness most people reserve for their closest kin, and at that moment, her eyelids fluttered open. Their eyes locked and something stirred in Jace's heart. She moaned, gently arched her back, and then curled further into his embrace, nuzzling against his chest. The others, still talking over their options behind him, did not notice any of this. Now, for Jace, the softness of her hair brushing against his neck was intoxicating. When she looked back up at him with her fawn-like eyes of deep brown and whispered,
"You have saved me, and I am yours,"
he was already falling in love with her. Then, her eyelids half closed, and she tilted up her chin, parting her pink lips. Helpless to resist, Jace bent down to kiss her. Jace is in big trouble here. A kiss from a succubus is devastating. Sivan, of course, was only feigning sleep when the PCs found her. As soon as Jace picked her up off the altar and into his arms, she used her innate ability of Charm Person on him. This is not a spell, but a spell-like effect. Jace will get a saving throw, but even if he succeeds, he will not be aware of the attempt. For a 7th level fighter, the number to beat on a d20 is 12. If he fails, she won't need to roll to kiss him. He won't resist at all. Let's roll a d20 and see if he's already smitten and too far gone. I'm using a big purple chonker of a d20 for this one. Here goes. I've got a 7. That, I'm afraid, is not enough. It means that Sivan doesn't even have to try. He'll be more than willing to kiss her. And when their lips touch... Jace lifted her high in his arms, with the sounds of conversation fading into indistinct noise behind. For him, there was only this beautiful woman and himself in all the world, and when he saw in her eyes the invitation to kiss her, his heart leapt up, and a surge of joy, unlike anything he had felt before, passed through his whole body. Every bad thing that had ever happened to him in his entire life was washed away in this tender moment of pure happiness. He leaned down and touched his lips to hers. The pain was immediate, sharp and excruciating. He felt something vital, his very life essence, come pouring up through his throat and out of his mouth in a torrent. He could feel the skin of his face begin to wither, as though he had aged a decade in a single second. He tried to tear away from her, but, horribly, the woman's mouth was fastened to his. Some kind of barbs had pierced his cheeks and tongue and the roof of his mouth. He pulled his arms out from under her, trying to drop her to the floor, but she clung to him as she fell, dragging him down with her and on top of her. The commotion caught the attention of Yellowfly and the others, who saw what Jace could not. The woman was transforming before their eyes into a scaly, spindly creature with the face of a gargoyle. As the two fell, it rolled him over so that his back was to the floor, and it straddled him. Once in this dominant position, 2 leathery bat-like wings burst forth from its shoulder blades and flapped in the air, blowing out a foul stench of rot. Poor Jace. In my experience, level drain is the worst thing that can happen to a PC. It's just heartbreaking to see a character's hard-won improvements stripped away. But this is exactly what has happened. Jace gets knocked back to level 6. He'll permanently lose a d8 of hit points, plus 1 for his constitution bonus. I'll roll that now. It's gonna be... 8 plus 1 is 9 for the worst possible outcome, and his current and max hit points plummet to 38 of 43. He'll also lose 1 from his basic attack bonus and drop from a plus 5 to a plus 4. That's bad, really bad, but it could get even worse if, when we enter into combat, the party loses the initiative. If that happens, I'm going to give Sivan a chance to steal another level. It won't be automatic, but she'll certainly get some kind of bonus to her attack roll, since she's more or less got Jace pinned and prone. The only good news here is that her successful attack releases Jace from being charmed. With all that said, it's time to cue the stinger, because we are entering combat. As we just saw, because of the successful Charm Person, Sivan didn't need to make a 2-hit roll to kiss Jace and level drain him, and I counted the attack as a kind of surprise round. But now that we are in combat, and it's clear to everyone that Jace is in serious danger, we need to roll for initiative. This is, I suppose it goes without saying, a very important roll. If the party loses, Sivan will get to try to drain a 2nd level from Jace simply by maintaining the deadly kiss. Let's begin. It is Round 1. Initiative. The party. A 2. Sivan. A 6. I think they're not only surprised by the speed and ferocity of Sivan's attack, but that the wave of rotting stench that rolls away from her causes them to recoil just long enough for her to try to drain another level from her victim. I'm ruling that Sivan will get a plus 2 to this attack. I think that's fair given the circumstances, and this will take into account Jace's inability to use a shield in this situation, as well as being pinned under the demon. Sivan will need to roll a 9 or better to maintain her hold on her victim, but if she does, the energy drain will happen. There's no saving throw allowed. If I ever needed to roll low, this is the time. Here goes nothing. Oh dear, I got a 19. We know what this means. Jace will drop yet another level. He'll lose another hit die, and his basic attack bonus will go down to a +3. I'll roll the hit die loss now. On a d8 plus 1, 3 plus 1 is 4 hit points. Even though it feels cruel, I think I need to apply my min-out rule to this roll. Jace will therefore lose 5, not 4, hit points from his current total and maximum. So that's 33 of 38, and he's back to level 5. Some of Jace's hair is now streaked with white, and his skin has turned pale gray. Even his previously bright blue eyes have gone dull. Since Jace has sheathed his sword, I don't think I can allow him to properly attack this round, or really do much of anything except try to free himself from the demoness's harrowing embrace. On a successful 2-hit, he'll do this. The AD&D Monster Manual says succubi have an AC of 0, which in Ascending AC is a 20. Yikes. This means Jace needs to roll a 17. That's not great odds, but I gotta try, so here goes. A 1. I got a 1! Jace is so weak, he not only fails to throw off the succubus, but he slumps down in hopeless defeat, figuring he is already a dead man. Thankfully, the other companions will get a chance to attack, and since I gave Sivan a +2 to her roll against Jace given the current situation, I think it's fair to give the companions each a +1. Sivan can't really evade while she's on top of Jace. I also think Sivan would not be especially concerned with the other humans in her midst. After all, she could only be hurt by magical weapons. What she doesn't know is that Shanae happens to have one. She's holding Kulfri's sword, the Sentinel. She'll still need to roll high to hit. All bonuses considered, she needs a 13 or better. Come on, Shanae. Jace needs this. Rolling. A 14. Shanae connects. Sivan was not expecting that. Her sword will do 4 plus 1 is 5 points of damage, bringing Sivan down to... Oh, hang on, I haven't rolled up Sivan's hit points yet. Guess I better do that now. As a 6-hit die monster, she'll have 30 hit points. That's above the min out of 24, so 30 it is. Of course, Shanae has cut that down to a 25. Yellowfly will try to take it down further. The Silverthorn was literally made to fight creatures like Sivan, and gives him a +3 to hit. He can add that to the situational bonus, his basic attack bonus of +5, and his strength bonus of +2 for a whopping +11. And he still only has a 60% chance to hit, if my math is right. Here's his roll. A 3 will not do it. Sivan ducks under his blade and hisses at him. Bazu tries to hit her, but his staff bounces harmlessly off her hide. Bazu has seen this kind of thing before. It happened to him when they fought the Yethhound. He won't waste another attack like this. Catsbane is the last to go. He has his dagger in his hand, and it is a magical weapon. I wonder if it's a plus something, in addition to its power of magic negation. Let's roll for it. On a d8, a 1 to 3 is +0, 4 to 6 is +1, 7 is +2, and 8 is +3. Here's the roll. A 6 means it is +1. He has a strength penalty, and so will need to roll a 17 to hurt Sivan. Well, it's worth a shot. Here's Catsbane's roll. An 8 is not enough. This brings us to round 2. Initiative. The party. 4. Sivan. 5. This is terrible bad luck for the PCs, but I'm actually not sure what Sivan will do here. When she thought she was immune to harm, her course of action was clear. She thought she could drain Jace at her leisure and with total impunity. But now she has been hurt. I don't think Sivan is used to being hurt, certainly not by mortals. To her, she is a wolf among sheep, so this is a shock. I think there's a good chance, I'll say 75%, that she releases Jace to attack Shanae. On a D percentile, a 30. She drops him, flaps her wings once, and springs at Shanae. Shanae has an armor class of 14, so Sivan needs a 9 to hit her with her talons. She gets 2 such attacks, rolling 2d20. A 9 and a 19 both hit as the demon throws her whole weight atop the rogue, ripping at her with her claws. Luckily, these attacks do fairly low damage, just 1 to 3 each, rolling to see how much. 5 points, and Shanae is down to 28. Now it's the companion's turn. Jace just lies there. To his companions, he looks dead. He isn't dead, of course, but he will miss his turn this round as a result of his critical fail in round 1. Shanae will try to push the demon off her and swing her sword. The companion's situational bonus is gone now, so she needs a 14. A 2. Shawnee is being knocked back, and it's all she can do to avoid being borne to the ground, as Jace had been. Yellowfly strikes, and he needs a 9 or better. A 17 is more than enough, and the Silverthorn bites deep into demon flesh, where it draws stinking black ichor. Damage will be 1 to 8 plus 5 in bonuses. Come on, Yellowfly. We need a high roll here. I got a 3 on the die. Not great, but it's still 8 points in total, and Sivan is down to 17 hit points. That's just over half of her starting HP. Catsbane tries his luck with Carrick's Dagger of Negation. An 8 misses. Bazu is last to go. He knows he can't hurt the demoness with his staff, but he has another weapon at his disposal. He throws his quarterstaff to the ground and pulls out his holy symbol, a metal disc with the sun sign of Sadal embossed on the surface. He holds it aloft, and Sivan cannot ignore it. This is Bazu's attempt to turn the succubus. Bazu is high enough level now that, with minor undead, his success is automatic. Not so with a demon. He'll need to roll a 9 or better on 2d6. Here's the roll. A 7. That's a fail. Before Bazu can say a word, Sivan's eyes flash red, and the cleric's symbol is torn from his hand by some unseen force and thrown across the room. Sivan's gargoyle mouth twists into a fearsome snarl as she says,
I will feast upon your soul next, puppet of Sadal.
It is round 3. Initiative. The party. A 6. Sivan. A 1. The demon's threat is ignored, and the companions try to surround her, swinging their blades. Shawnee lunges in. A 10 is no good. The demoness leaps to the side, and the magical blade cuts only air. Yellowfly. A 10 is not a great roll, but it is enough. The Silverthorn is doing what it was made to do. 1d8 plus 5 points is... an 8 on the die. Wow. The Silverthorn shears off a wing, and dark blood sprays everywhere, hissing wherever it lands. Sivan howls in agony as she takes 13 points of damage. She's only got 4 hit points left. Jace and Bazu are still powerless to hurt the demon, but there's the smallest chance that Catsbane can finish this fight right now. He'll need an 18 to hit, however. His roll? 17! So close, Catsbane. But a near miss is still a miss, and Sivan is not going to be destroyed this round. In fact, I think she's had enough for the time being. I'm not going to roll a morale check. For her turn, she teleports away, vanishing in a cloud of black smoke and brimstone. Thanks for listening to Tale of the Manticore. If you've enjoyed the show and would like to help to support it, there are lots of ways to do so. You can recommend it online or to friends. You can like and repost episode announcements on social media. You can pick up One Shot in the Dark, the Pendulum World Building Tool, or Encyclopedia Manticorica on DriveThruRPG. You can also rate or review the show on your podcatcher of choice. My thanks to everyone for their support of the show. At this time, please allow me to share one of your generous reviews. This one was left by Ian Ilson on Podcast Addict. Ian writes, I recently discovered Tale of the Manticore, and I'm happy to say it has completely captivated me. John is an excellent storyteller, and his characters are deep and believable. I'm currently 24 episodes in, and I felt both the relief of surviving hopeless situations and the profound sadness of losing a friend too early. Thank you very much for sharing this wonderful story, John. Cheers for that very kind review, Ian Elson. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, or at least close enough to correct that you can recognize it. I too feel genuine sadness whenever a character dies, and the longer I've been with them, the more it hurts. Isn't that a funny thing? These characters are just stats on a paper. Of course, we get to share the characters' triumphs too. I think it's a fair trade. Speaking of triumphs, let's take a moment to recognize this episode's great voice talent. Featured today are Kai Ellen, who plays Catsbane, Kevin Berenger as Jace, and returning to the show after a long time in the role of Sivan, the vile succubus, Cassie, aka DM Lady Crit from the Party Advantage podcast. Thanks for your fantastic performances, Kai Ellen, Kevin, and Cassie. For any listeners who would like to get in touch with me, I'm at Manticore Tale on X or Tale of the Manticore Podcast on Instagram. If you prefer email, I'm at taleofthemanticore@gmail.com. Finally, I keep a blog where I post all kinds of show and RPG-related stuff. like art, maps, tables, crafts, and show notes. You can find it at taleofthemanticore.blogspot.com. The adventure will continue on the next episode of Tale of the Manticore. It's the story where chaos rolls.
Hey there, Manticores. I know you have an advanced taste in quality RPG content. I bet you would love diving deep into the minds of the people making RPGs. Tabletop Talk is the podcast for you. I'm Craig, and I sit down with the brilliant minds behind your favorite games to uncover their creative process and the stories behind their work. Tune in to hear from the game designers, artists, and writers who bring your tabletop experiences to life. Join me and my guests on Tabletop Talk. Find us wherever you get your podcasts.